My memory is shit.
I think this is why people do like Taco Tuesdays.
They used to bend you over and fucking paddle you.
That's like almost the definition of a gang.
How dare you?
You guys were just douchebag assholes.
Your kids are shit.
This was a scam from the get-go.
50 is the new 30. 50 is the new 30. 50 is the new 30 now. Right?
Hey, buddy. Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
It's good to hear your voice.
It's good to see your face.
What are we talking about today? I forget what's happening. I think that's, I don't know, is that worth talking about? I don't think this is true for everybody at our age or whatever, but I think it's true for a significant portion of people. My memory and just like stuff that isn't super hyper routine, I feel like I'm starting from scratch every day. I think this is why people do like Taco Tuesdays. You know, it's like, so you don't have to fucking think about things. You just, it's Tuesday, so that means tacos. And that means on Sunday, when I figure out what I'm buying for food for the week, I don't have to think about it because Tuesday's Taco Tuesday, so I need the shit for tacos, right? Like, especially if you have what, I had a late diagnosis in life. I don't know if it's true or correct or not, but ADHD. And I didn't get diagnosed with it until I was, 40, 46, 45, something like that. And a lot of it holds true, makes sense. But part of the deal with ADHD is like you're really shitty with scheduling and having routine and like abiding by routine or self-imposing scheduling. But you need it in order to function because when you have ADHD, you have to fall back on routine schedule. And working remotely is one of the worst things for that, especially if you're not the person that is like, okay, well, I'm going to go get dressed up, take a shower, get cleaned up, make sure I'm in a suit and tie or whatever, even though I work remotely, right? I'm going to do what I would do if I worked in the office. I'm going to do exactly what I would do if I worked in the office. If you don't have that like discipline or like just nature about you, it gets really off track super fast. So this is all just to explain why I somewhere set down my phone, which I looked at probably 20 minutes, 30 minutes before I came here to do this because I looked at the clock. I have no idea where my phone is. Like, I have no fucking idea. I have no idea. I have looked all over the whole house. I don't even know. It would seem in my brain it would take a lot longer to lose the phone, right? Like,
my memory is shit. It's been shit for my whole life. It's been shit.
You don't actually have a shit memory, but you probably have a shit memory for certain things. And that's a fundamental thing about memory. It's not this monolithic uniform thing that we all think, right? Like there are subtypes and sort of a sub-segregating of the way memory works. Like I have a horrible memory for movies, right? But I have a awesome memory for things that have negatively affected me in my life. Right? Like,
yeah,
it's not one thing, right? Like if things are going badly and I'm stressed and tense and it's like having it, my tape recorder, the way my brain is primed and it seems to tape record on shitty things. So I can remember more upsetting things. So I'm crux in an argument where it was like, no, you said this and it really upset me. Like, and that's not, I'm good. I'm like, you could bank on what I'm saying in those moments.
My whole life, my family's always been like, oh, your memory's awful and you don't remember anything. And it took me a while to start to really kind of believe it and actually see that it's true. Like for example, my sister, her husband, great guy. Great guy, good guy. I know him.
What's his name?
Mark. But so
well, see, you remember that.
Yeah, but I forgot they got married. I forgot I was in the wedding. I forgot I was at the wedding. I mean, I
Like
forget things
when's
like
the time
that.
frame? Like how long after they got married
Oh,
did
yeah,
this thing come up where it was like, oh shit, I actually forgot that I was there.
like
and you're
5
married.
years. Like
How
5
long
years.
were they together before they got married? Was it a long running thing?
Not too long. I mean, a couple years or
then
whatever.
you definitely have Alzheimer's disease.
Yeah, exactly. And so
No,
my
you
mom,
don't.
my brother, everybody.
It's
But then no, it's come back to me. Since I've forgotten
yeah.
it, and then everybody was like, "You don't remember your sister?" I'm like, "I what? I had." It was like literally just erased from my memory, and I couldn't figure out what the hell was happening. But then eventually, the memories came back, and it's like, "Oh yeah, shit, I remember that. I remember where it was. I remember my aunt and uncle being there. I remember being kind of next to my brother at the, you know, what I mean, I like all of it came back, but I could not remember when somebody recalled it at the time, and I know I don't have any kind of like, I don't think I have any issue. I think my brain, fills up with work and my work shit and my coding and and you know what I mean? What I'm doing at work all the time. I've spent, I don't know, 20 years so focused on work, 10, 12, 15 hours a day, a lot of years, you know what I mean? Weekends, nights. I have my phone on my pillow, basically next to my head at all times for like 20 years now, because I'm always doing something where I need to get alerted. Oh, something's wrong. I need to go reset servers. I need to go fix things. So I sleep with my phone next to my pillow. And even to this day, even last night, I get woken up at 3 a.m, whatever. Oops, there's something I got to wake up, go to the computer, log in, fix some shit at work. It happens for so long now. And I have a feeling it's pushing everything else out. It's keeping shit out.
When did your sister get married? What year? Oh, yeah, is that going to put you on the spot?
Yeah, I don't know. No. Okay. So my sister's wedding wasn't because of work, but
okay.
my memory, my shit memory now,
Yeah.
I think it's because there's no room. It's like you pour a gallon into a shot glass and something's bound to spill out. You know what I'm saying?
I think that's like I think that's possible, but I think it's also possible that that's just a way of like frameworking or understanding things today. The truth is, I don't know if the truth, but if you look back, there's a decent chance that even before you were this focused on work and this memory taxed, right?
Yeah, that was shit memory. Yeah.
It was a shitty thing, right? Like my eyes, like I was born with shit eyes, according to you.
Mm-hmm. You have shit
which
eyes.
still keeps me awake at night sometimes. But I think that you maybe were born with a shit memory. Now,
yeah.
I maybe was also born with a shit memory, or it was traumatic stuff from growing up, like stressful childhood stuff. I don't know. I know people that actually didn't have shitty upbringings that have this form of like, it's like dissociative remembrance. It's like, I don't know if it's been studied and there's a term for it, but it's like kind of dissociative memory, where once you go past like a year on the memory trace, it just dumps, it just disappears. Unless you have things which back in the day, like having actual physical photographs to look at, I could see the photograph and be like, oh yeah, I remember that. And as long as I looked at that periodically, it'd be like a jumping off point for like, it's going to keep that memory circuit alive. And so I would remember it if I had the visual thing to remember it. But once that went away, it was like, oh God, this is gone. Or to have friends. I have a story, like there's early on, there was a joke, a snowman joke, which I still hold was not all that funny. No offense to anybody involved.
Great. It's great.
It's not great. It's not great. It's like the whole premise of that joke. Maybe you can cut to the joke real quick.
Snowman walks into a bar and says, hey, I want a frosty cold beverage. Bartender says, I'm sorry, Pablo, we're fresh out of ice. Snowman says, that's okay. I'll dip my balls in it.
But like the whole premise of the joke is basically like a 15-year-old's excuse to use the word balls. That's
So
the
be
whole
it.
thing that makes it so funny. I guess
Balls are funny.
if you're 15, balls are funnier, but your like score for how funny balls are kind of tapers off as you get older.
No,
Except
no,
for you,
disagree.
which is, but I think that's the thing. I think that like we have a lot of, potty humor and just whatever, like sexual humor stuff in there. And sometimes I think like the whole premise of the show, 50 is the new 30, is, yeah, there's the idea that like people physically look younger than they used to. And there's that whole phenomenon.
Yeah.
But I wonder at times, is it possible that maybe you're just extremely immature?
Yeah, it is.
And 50,
And you know what?
because every time you pull this shit, I'm like, 50 is the new 15.
If that is the case,
Because you're
ignorance
basically
is bliss.
15 years old. Yeah.
Ignorance is bliss, baby. If that keeps me young at heart, because I love laughing and giggling at balls, so be it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I guess I just don't get the balls joke, but I've thought, now I lost my train of thought because I'm
Oh, Jesus.
close to 50. But
Well,
your
no,
memory should
my
kick
memory
in to
has
be
gotten
like,
worse.
oh, you were saying, and then you can remind me. But is your memory so shitty that you can't even remind me of what I was saying back there?
But you know what? Before we
Because
move
you're not even
on,
paying attention because you don't care.
no, before
The
we move
camera's all
on,
screwed up. Hold on.
no, it's fine. There is one thing that happened to me when I was younger that I do think might have led to some issues in my life. When I was 16, I got in a fight at school, in high school. And even though I was always like a bad kid growing up, bad student, cuss out the teachers, you know what I mean? It was a whole thing. Always going to the principal's office, all that stuff. Like physical altercations or things that were going to get me really in trouble. I didn't do those things.
Yeah,
You know what I
you were
mean?
more like you were a Weisenheimer.
Yeah.
You were
Okay.
Weisenheimer, as they would once say.
Okay.
But you
Yeah,
weren't
like-
actually getting into like fisticuffs.
Yeah.
Is it okay if I say fisticuffs? Are you going to give me
Sure.
a hard time?
No, I get it. I think
You know that one.
50-year-old
You wanna pause?
crowd gets that.
You want to pause for Google? Or
But so, a kid got in my face. Like, I don't remember what the hell happened. Kid got in my face. He had some problem with me or whatever. We were in the locker room. And, when it gets to the actual point where it's like, okay, let's take a swing. My thought is, okay, I'm going to get in trouble if I do this. He was the kind that didn't care. He's throwing fists first and then, dealing
he's
with
in jail
repercussions
now.
later.
he's in
Probably.
jail now.
Yeah. So then,
Or a
but
CEO.
he hit me. So I had a concussion from this. He hit me. It was one of those things where I woke up at home in my bed.
Yeah.
Right. And my mom was like, oh, hi. Like, do you remember anything?
Oh my
Do you
God!
remember
Like he
what happened
knocked
to
you
you?
out?
Oh yeah. I had a concussion from it. I was straight up and I didn't remember anything. I was like,
Like he
what the
knocked you
hell?
out in the school grounds?
Inside the locker room. And so it turns out I
And
think
then,
I
like,
banged,
were there
I hit
other
my
people-
head. I hit my head on I think I hit my head on the locker. Like he hit me and, I must have flung around slow motion style and like hit something else and not really kind of, and then with the thing in my braces or whatever. But,
Oy.
bleep kind of remembered. I came over to my locker and I was trying to undo my lock with my combination lock, and I was frustrated and I couldn't remember it, and I was acting weird and saying weird things, I guess. And so bleep went to the fucking math teacher who's the PE teacher, right? He went to that guy and told him, hey, something's wrong, whatever. If one thing leads to another, and then it turns out like, yeah, I was full on. And so but years went by, and I started to piece and remember parts of this fight. I kind of remember now where I was. I kind of remember how
It's
it
almost
happened.
like
I kind of,
post-hypnotic regression.
yeah, something. But this leads me to something else, and we'll get back to the trouble thing. Like I never wanted to get into real trouble, and I always knew better. That's why I didn't ever take drugs. I never, there was certain things I just stayed away from, because it's like, that's like, ooh, that's like next level, or you're going, there's a line you don't cross. And one of our other close friends, for senior prank, And for those that are familiar with senior prank, and it's been a long time in high school, first day of your senior year, right? Or day before school starts, there's senior prank. You go and you do things. You know, my brother's high school, they used to throw like a mattress in the pool, the school pool, which, you know, it's impossible to get out unless they go and cut it in pieces, you know what I mean, and get it out. And it's that whole thing. One of our other bleep friends, you know, another bleep of ours,
Not normal bleep, a different bleep.
I went to his house one night. I cruised up in my car. I literally got out of my car, was walking up to his house, and he was up in the bedroom windows going, "Hey, we're going to go do senior prank or whatever. You're coming with me or whatever." And I was like, "Sure, let's do it, whatever." Right. And I had gotten kicked out of the school by then, so I didn't care. What do I care, right? But he drags me to this thing where we meet up with a bunch of other kids that had a van, and I thought it was all fun and games until they open up the side of the van, and everybody inside the van has got like, not ski masks, but they had like turtlenecks, you know, black turtlenecks that were going up pretty far, and everybody's like looking like they're like G.I. Joe somehow, and duffel bags full of spray cans and spray paint and rollers, right? And that's when I was like, oh shit, like this is like, okay, this is another level for me, right? Okay, but I'm there. I'm not gonna, you know, wimp out. So I partake and I grab my spray can. Okay, and this is awful. Don't get me wrong. I'm not condoning this behavior. This is awful. But I did, you know, a class of 92. You know what I mean? I would spray paint 92 on the sidewalks. You know what I mean? That was the extent of my whatever I did in that whole experience. Sure enough, you know, we get caught. Right. Somebody had a problem that night, ran to somebody's house to get help. That person was a fellow student who saw everybody dressed up in black and, you know, basically ski masks and shit. Right. Was wondering like, what the hell's going on? First day of school, everybody shows up. There was so much damage to that school because there was like 15 of us. Right. And everybody has their own spray cans and whatever. But there was girls rolling with rollers and cans, you know, gallon paint, 2 gallon, whatever the hell they are, and rolling. So-and-so was a slut, you know, on the quad walls and things like that, right? I'm doing 92, you know, maybe 92 rules, you know, somewhere. Okay. These people were spraying windows. They were putting shit in locks, all the door locks. They're, you know what I mean? Like the Pepsi machine, just you name it. And it was destroyed and damaged and spray painted. And they took video of this the next day, right? Filmed it all. We all get busted one by one and had to go and sit and watch this video with our parents. It was a whole thing. And watching that video and how much damage and destruction was done. I mean, not destruction, but you know, when you're doing your own little thing, it's all you see, right? And it was nighttime. It was the middle of the night. You couldn't see anything. It was awful what everybody contributed to do that night. And
so you did that? You did it?
I was part of it. I got roped
and like when it
into that.
happened, you didn't realize how much damage was going on?
No, because the school's pretty big.
You were just
right?
so
And
focused on like 92.
The majority of what I did was outside the school, kind of like on the sidewalks. I was doing 92. Yay. Right. That was it. That was it. There was, okay, still awful, but I wasn't spray painting doors and windows and destroying Pepsi machines and putting shit inside the locks or the keyholes of the locks, you know, and things like that. I didn't do that.
These are people that, you know, I mean, how many of these people that were involved in your leg of this crew, do you know, where are they now? Like if you had to do a where are they now segment, do you have any idea?
Probably not in the top 1% of successful people in life. Yeah, probably. Is that what you're getting
my
at?
question isn't where are they? Like, do you know where they are? Like, do you know them? Could you
know one
find them on
really close
Facebook or call them up or something?
No, I didn't know these people. I know the one girl who called somebody a slut, And that,
Wait. But where's the? But you said
but
like
I don't know her. I know her name. That's-
alternate bleep was like calling you in to participate in this
yes.
act of vandalism.
Yes. He didn't know either. The year
Oh, I
before.
don't understand. Did you guys accidentally get like queued up with a gang?
No. It was a bunch of rich white people, a bunch of rich white kids that thought this would be funny. And I
but
was
you
along
see,
for the
like,
ride.
what-
I didn't
what-
know who these people were.
Yeah, but like, doesn't that mean like, you know, isn't that the way that it often goes? Like, if you ain't got the money, like you're gonna get hosed because you don't have the attorneys and whatever.
I honestly wasn't thinking. So again,
No,
I
you weren't
usually
thinking
was
about
smart
it,
enough to think,
okay,
I don't want to do this.
Who took the fall
We
for
all did.
whatever happened?
We all did. We all
All of them?
had to. Yeah, our parents had to pay. They divvied up the cost of the repair, maintenance, whatever you want to call it.
92.
Somebody had to
You
come in on a
graduated-
holiday. Yeah,
You graduated in 92.
I graduated in 91. I graduated a year ahead of everybody else. I
And
got
you just
kicked
went
out
back
of
for the
school.
fucking vandalism? Is that what
That's
you're
the
telling me?
thing. I got kicked out of this school. I went
You
to a
weren't
continued.
even a student. You just went
No,
back. That's
I was just along for the ride with Bleep. I didn't know what was happening. The one of the people that kind
but
of
you
ratted
go
on us,
along
whatever.
for the ride. That's like almost the definition of a gang.
Yeah,
Like my
that
crew needed
sounds
me to
better.
fuck somebody up, so I fucked somebody up. And that
this
somebody
sounds
in this
better.
case was a school.
Yeah. I forget the damage. I think it was maybe like $8,000 or something in damage. You know, and then we all had to split it evenly. Our parents basically had to pay, you know, for our
Okay,
share.
but not through some court proceeding? Or
No, we had to go in front of like the school board or something. I don't remember what it was.
Look at
I
this,
didn't even
but
go
this
to that
wouldn't- you
fucking
wouldn't-
school.
that doesn't seem like it matters. You were just like a...
I was the last one to get ratted. The
I think
last
that the-
one.
Okay, but whatever. I think the point I'm trying to make is that you would not have been able to avoid a legal case today
They didn't do
or
it
in the
legally.
last like 10, 15 years.
They
You'd
just
be
made us
going
pay.
to court. You'd be arrested, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, this my point is that like the school board found a way to hold people accountable and deal with it outside of the legal system. And they
Yeah.
didn't need to pull in the legal system in order to compel your compliance with whatever the agreement was. Okay, we're going to split it up. We're going to pay it 8 ways or whatever, right? Like,
Mhm.
what? Can you imagine? Like, if it happened today, you'd be deemed like terrorists or something.
Yeah,
You would have
I
to
mean,
go like, how could you have done whatever kind of damage and just been like, well, I didn't get a legal. There was
I mean, we're all
a school board
teenagers.
we play. I know,
What are they
but
gonna
you're
do?
not given that. You're not given that today. No, today they will arrest the parents.
Right. Things have
Like
changed.
you're maybe not
Yeah.
familiar with this, but like if your kids
Uh-huh.
fuck up, you're on the hook. And like it is a criminalization of what people might call normal behavior, or you might be like, well, this is pre-criminal behavior. So we're going to criminalize it at the pre-level, right? But like anybody who's watching this is 50 or older can relate to what I'm saying. Like we have criminalized things to a point where it is like, there is something about, as a person who, I'm an American, I've lived, I know America. I'm not anti-America,
America.
right? Yeah, but I'm
America.
not like my stuff about America and being an American, because I feel that I am patriotic, and I feel that what constitutes patriotism for me isn't just kind of blindly following the script of whatever, because the script changes too, you know? You can't be like, well, the script is the script from the 1950s. Like the script for me is, I believe that things like the Constitution and the Founding Fathers set up a model that can be adapted over time. That's why we have a mechanism built into the Constitution to create amendments and stuff, right? Like they thought about that. They knew that they couldn't set it up and just let it ride. They knew if they wanted it to persist across time, if they wanted it to be something that lasted more than 200 years, 100 years, 500 years. They were going to be necessarily things that would have to be adapted over time. So they were smart enough to build that in. It can be changed. It can be amended. And my belief in like what it means to be American or to be like a constitutionalist is that you can do better. You can change things over time. Like it was even in the basis of the constitutional language, it was in order to form a more perfect union, a more perfect union. They knew they could never achieve perfection. They knew that it was always incrementally trying to get to the next thing, to the next thing, to the next thing. There is something about this idea that like we have freedom, but one of the things that we have the freedom to do is to criminalize. We have this immense freedom to create more laws and rules and restrictions that make it less free. And that is the thing that I think people are like, oh, you know, we're the greatest nation on earth, ... And it's like, I agree. But like, there's a limit. A lot of what our ideals of freedom are doing is creating the freedom to create crazy levels of rules and restrictions, right? Like, it is crazy. So you can, and that changes over time as certain things should. But like the idea that you, because you grew up and you did your senior, whatever, hijinks
Rank.
in 1992 means that you didn't get held criminally liable for incurring $8,000 plus of damage. And there's male, female, 20 people, it sounds like, involved in painting and fucking up the school. Because why? Because it's a prank? Fuck you. You guys
maybe
are just
15
assholes.
grand. Yeah, we were.
You guys were just assholes. You guys were just douchebag assholes. And again, going back, like, I guess these things have happened for years, but I'm not of this age or era. I just narrowly missed it somehow. Like something like with like the Nancy Reagan, like just say no, like, you know, be prim proper, don't do drugs. Like I just barely seem to have missed
Nancy
this where
Reagan.
people are like, it was senior prank. It was senior prank. We had permission to be fucking human scumbag people that vandalized a facility because it's a senior prank. Like
I am agreeing
senior
with you.
prank.
It's awful. Everybody was crying watching that video, crying tears. Like, oh my God, it was awful watching that.
Yeah, but they were that volume. Like mentally incapacitated at the time that they were like, senior
I don't
prank.
know.
I'm in senior prank mode. Senior prank mode means I can do anything. I am above the law. I shall spray paint and fucking roller paint. How long does it take to get a roller in roller paint?
Exactly.
What?
Yes. Exactly.
Like
on the full on a
that
whole
is
sentence.
Premeditated. That is criminal shit. You would go to goddamn fucking jail today.
Yeah, it was a sentence
and you're
on
at the
wall.
cusp of adulthood. You're 18, you're 17, you're 19.
17, yeah, okay. I agree with you.
And now it's like, oh, they were just kids. Put it in front of the school board. The school board now, this is a time where the school board had some autonomy. And that's what they were actually put there for. In a positive respect, have we gotten better? No, we have taken the freedoms that are given to us to hyper-criminalize kind of everything. You are a criminal. I'm a criminal. Most Americans are criminals. They just haven't been caught. Do you know what I mean?
This is deep.
And that seems to be the thing that is like, people are like, well, it isn't like, oh, they're terrible people and I'm a good person. A lot of what's cooking in people's brains, whether they're willing to admit it or not, and I'm looking at you fucking people, like a lot of people are like, well, I was just smart enough not to get caught. But the idea that like you never drove drunk, you never broke the speed limit, you know, like you never got away with cheating on your taxes. There are so many things that people are doing day to day that are legally criminal acts. And we walk around like, well, we're all good people. Why are we good people? Because in many cases, we're either not getting caught or we have the means to get out of it when we do get in trouble. And it's like, who's the terrible person? The fucker who gets caught.
For the record, I've never cheated on my taxes.
Imagine if you went to jail and when you were 18 or 19 or whatever this happened, and imagine that would have done to
17.
your future. What would that have done?
17.
Now you can be tried as an adult for that, depending on how much
understand.
dollar damage you did. We have adapted. We are free to create laws that now make that, well, if you surpass a certain amount of dollar damage, then it doesn't matter that you're a juvenile. You get to qualify for extenuate. You go to, you're 18, you're tried as an adult. Right?
Why are you so fucking stuck on what would happen today and how fucking criminalized you would be? What the fuck?
Because I think it is so, I don't think it's fair that the same activities perpetrated today versus perpetrated 40 years ago would be so much more criminally, intense today. It's the same act. Now, you don't think that that's got an effect on kids acting fucking nuts and like shooting up schools and going fucking apeshit crazy? Of course it does, because kids aren't allowed to be kids, right? And I'm not saying that criminal stuff is like, that's to be a kid, like that's kid stuff. But we used to look at that and be like, those are just dumb kids being dumb kids. Now it's like you have zero margin of error. And that all feeds into the same thing. You got to be in the right kindergarten program, otherwise you're not going to get into the right fucking college.
Yeah, but now everybody just blames
the pressure
parenting.
today is like it's insane. Like
it's
you have
parenting.
no margin for error.
Right.
No margin for error.
It always goes back to parenting now. It's how but my mom didn't raise me like that. My mom didn't, you know what I mean? She was extremely upset and disappointed.
She
But
didn't
my mom
have
didn't.
to raise you that way, but she also didn't have to act in a hyper neurotic way to be like, David, don't ever fucking do this, and don't ever fucking do that, and don't ever fucking do this, right?
Right.
Now the kids are like anxious messes because their parents are like, oh, you can't do that, and if you do that, you're gonna never get into a good college, or you're gonna be a criminal, or you're gonna be fucking people in the ass in fucking prison.
Not Asian kids. Not kids in Japan.
Because the kids, but Asian kids, even in America, translated to America, they are also, the culture of it entitles them to be like, you have a bandwidth. You are allowed to operate here, here, and here. Right? And that's just that. But this is really different. When you take people today and you're like, hey, mom and dad say you can't operate here, that's it. You're stuck.
But I also used to get spanked by teachers in school. They have the right to spank me. Could you imagine a teacher spanking your kids? So if you want to like keep saying, oh, all shit's different, it should be the same, you wouldn't stand for that at all. A fucking paddle? They used to bend you over and fucking paddle you.
I got to say that I think that this idea that I've struggled with this a lot as a parent, right? And I even struggle with it in my own marriage, that I have moments where I'm like, we are so not laid back, like laissez-faire, do whatever you want. But our own children don't have, is laissez-faire the thing? Is that a Mark Cuban moment? Or I am like, I do at times think that my kids need to be a little bit scared of me. And I don't mean they should walk around fearful that dad is going to leave them not secure, right? Or that they have to worry about their actual physical safety. That is not what I mean. But I do think that there should be a sense that, oh, fuck, I pissed off dad. That's not good. Mm-hmm. Oh, shit, mom's upset. I don't like what life is like when mom's upset. Now, do you have to be a tyrant, an emotional tyrant, to compel your kids to be afraid of, I don't want mom to be upset. I don't want dad to be pissed off, right? Like, but I think we've all kind of moved away from like the sense that, not all of us, but a lot of people have moved away from, it's okay for your kids to kind of temporarily, situationally be a little bit like, oh shit, dad's going to blow his stack, right? Oh shit, mom's going to be really pissed off or mom's going to cry. I don't like how that makes me feel. I think today the parents have been like, we have to neutralize our responses to our children because we don't want them to feel bad. And I don't think it's doing good fucking things for people.
I agree.
I don't.
And you can't even
I don't
spank
think
your
it's
kids.
doing good things to people.
I got
and
spanked.
that's the thing. So the spanking thing, right? Like, am I a proponent of spanking? No, not necessarily. Now, I have a son who is a different, completely different fucking animal to my first child, my daughter, right? I would never need to spank my daughter. Do I need to spank my son? I have. The fact is, it's not really effective. Okay. But the idea that like now I would in today's world be a criminal, right? Or I would be an abusive parent for things that were happening for not only the last 10, 20, 30, 40 years before, but like eons before, right? What we're actually doing is shrinking the field of freedom and instead trading the concept of freedom for we have the ability to sue somebody. And then we can codify those things instead of having to actually sue somebody. We just put it into the law. So I don't have to sue anybody. I just call the police. I just call law enforcement, right? Like that's fucked up.
Let's do housekeeping. Housekeeping. Week and a half ago, we had just hit 2,000 subs. Right now, we are at 23. Well, as of when we started, 2,317 subs. We've added 317 subs in the last week and a half.
Wow.
Yes, this is a kick-ass week.
But can I elephant in the room this for a second?
Yeah.
We've kind of talked about this offline. It's not real. Is it real? Because where are they? They're not commenting. They're not. So then I think maybe we should do things that are a little more interactive. It would behoove us to be like, hey,
Agreed.
what do you guys think about has it changed? Right? Are things really different? Do you think, and I'm not going to be like, do you think you should spank your kids? But like, I will ask this. Do you think, based on watching this, that Dave should have been branded a criminal?
Oh my God.
Do you think, another question, answer each one. That's question A. Question B is, do you think Dave would be as successful as he is today if he had been criminalized as a young person for his act of vandalism?
Or would I be more successful?
As a gang member. And question 3, maybe could David have been more successful had he been criminally charged as a juvenile?
There you go.
So there's 3 interactive questions for the 2,310, 17, excuse me, 7 people.
Okay.
Subscribers. Like, I want to know.
Have you ever been part of a multi-level marketing scheme?
Have you
Amway?
ever? Have you? No, I did. It was nowhere near as organized. It was like those things where you're like, here's a telephone pole, tear off a fucking phone number, call us. Like, do you want to do whatever? Mail $1 in an envelope to this address, right? And I was like, I don't know. I was a college student. I was like, I don't know. I need money, So I sent off $1, and then I eventually got something back, and it was like, hey, post an ad, and then like every time you post, it was this like total pyramid scheme crap, right? So this did something to me where I was like, oh, this was a scam from the get-go, and I fell for it, and I feel really bad. So I posted my own thing, and if anybody ever responded to me, which I got a couple people that sent me $1 and whatever, I sent the $1 back to them, and I was like, tell everybody that this is a scam and to never fucking do this for anybody ever again if you ever see this.
There was something similar to what you're mentioning. You mailed $1 and they would send you $5 back.
Yeah.
And so you would do this. You would send $1. Someone would actually send $5 back. But then they told you, if you send $20, you'll get $100 back. So they would hook you with the, hey, just mail $1. They would actually send $5 back and say, but if you send 20, you'll get 100. Someone would send 20 and they would just, that would be it. No one would ever.
And you get nothing.
Right. But it was worth it for them to send 5 to get 20. And it was a whole thing. And it actually, I guess, worked. It reminds me of also back, remember when magazines existed? The back of magazines used to have ads. And people would put the ads that would say like, we have the secret for a year-round green grass and a green lawn, right? Just send us, $1.25 to this address or whatever, and we'll send you the secret, right? And they would just send back, water it, those things used to be brilliant to me. I used to think, wait a second, that's brilliant, right? You can't get away with that today, but again, your whole thing, like back then you could, now you can't. But that's
so do you think
good
we're
thing.
better off that you can't? Do you think it's good now?
That's a better one. Yeah,
it's better.
I think so.
Because like, what would be the harm? Like, it's not like somebody in that scheme isn't going to lose their shirt because they sent $20. They're going to learn pretty quickly. That's a screwed up thing. Right.
Yeah. It comes back more to taxes and somebody evading taxes and getting paid. You know what I mean? It'd be more that than anything else.
You can't multi-billion-dollar Ponzi scheme in that type of model. Right.
Yeah. No.
And you probably don't even need to create laws that it's like, okay, if it's too good to be true, it's probably too good to be true. Right. It is. Like, you just let somebody lose $20 and then it's okay. They're not losing their house. Their family's not starving, right? I mean, I know you're in favor of like letting the criminals run the world. It doesn't matter. F it.
Okay. So I don't know your kids, but I've held Claire once. Uncle Dave held Claire and there's a picture of it. So I don't know your kids at all. Right. I know very little about them. Some of them, you text me once in a while, like, whatever. But let me just tell you one thing. And you might not like this. Okay. Your kids are shit.
Oh.
Everybody's kids are shit. To somebody who doesn't have kids, your kids are shit. Your kids aren't smart. They're not funny. They're not cute. They're not any of that shit.
Meaning they're not special, not like they're terrible, right? It's just
no, the kids are terrible.
They're not special.
No, to somebody who's single,
to somebody who doesn't have kids, they're terrible.
Yes,
somebody like childless couples, single people without children.
You go to a restaurant.
Your kids are shitty. Your kids are shit.
You go to a restaurant. Somebody has their shit.
You're
kids
on a plane
there screaming. You go to a fucking plane. Kids are fucking screaming. You go to a movie theater. Kids are fucking screaming. You go to the grocery store. They're fucking pouting and throwing tantrums on the floor. Every single time you see a parent anywhere with kids, they're losing their shit. They're fucking frustrated.
Yes.
They're losing their minds. They're shaking their heads.
Yes.
They want to smoke a cigarette. They want to have a glass of fucking wine. That's all they can think of.
I want to do all those things right now. Yeah.
For 10 minutes, they're like, oh, the whole fucking day is shit. But the 10 minutes where they're kind of sleepy and they want to hold on to while they're napping. Oh, it's so great. Oh, it's so wonderful and blah, blah. Yeah, okay. No thanks. Your kids are shit. Everybody else's kids are shit, Josh.
So, I mean, I would like to be like super offended, but I was you before I had kids, right? There is this inexplicable, and it's explainable because it's like, oh, my babies, right? But I was exactly that way. I used to think like either children should be made illegal on planes, or there should be like a child-only taxi that takes people, or there should be like, at one point I was like, I'm going to develop a helmet that you put on the kid, and you cannot hear, but the parents like maybe get some earphones. They'd be like, "Mommy, I want air." I mean, they'd be able to breathe, but it'd be like, "Mom, I want fucking goldfish crackers." And like, but
Cheerios,
nobody
yeah.
else can hear them, right? And the kids can like be knocking and then like, "I want what I want," but nobody's gonna hear anything other than, right? Because I've been on those planes with asshole fucking children running amok, and you're like, control your kids. Why can you not control your kids? But I'm going to tell you, if you have never tried to control your kids in that type of environment, you have no goddamn fucking idea what the fuck you're talking about. Because it isn't as easy as you think it would be. Now, you can have almost militant style control over your kids where they're terrified of you and you can compel them to just whatever. But then there's other things that happen where it's like, oh my God, my head feels like it's going to rupture because of the pressure changes. And especially babies, like babies, you can't reason with babies. And people have to travel with babies. The idea that like your life doesn't exist because you have an infant for 6-12 months, like it does. And maybe your family lives somewhere else, right? And you got to go. Or maybe your husband was beating you and you have to fucking get the fuck away and move somewhere else. Like you can't stop that. And so I have really, it radically changed me once I had kids and I experienced the pressure of traveling when you have children.
Yeah,
because
you're solely
like,
talking about traveling.
You're like, oh my God, my kid, oh. Or any kind of social thing. I have had those times where I'm like, now as someone who's had a kid, 2 kids, and traveling on planes, and it's like you hear a kid screaming or crying. If you see that the parents are just like, they actually seem like they don't give a shit, then I still don't have a great tolerance for it. But when you actually see that they're trying and it's like, oh fuck, like this is just a force of nature thing that you can't really control and life goes on, then I'm like, okay, you know, I give a much wider berth to those people, right? But I would have had zero tolerance for that until I had children myself, and then also had to travel with children myself.
Yeah. So what about the time her and I are having dinner and there is a couple behind us sitting at the table behind us with their child who starts screaming at the top of his lungs, screaming. I don't know what the hell was wrong. He is upset and he's complaining. He's not getting something or they got him the wrong quesadilla. I don't know. All right. He's just screaming. And they're just looking at their menu. They're ignoring him. They're trying to ignore his, you know, because they didn't want to give him the satisfaction, right?
Yeah,
Screaming in a restaurant at the top of his lungs for 10 minutes. Josh, I'm not even kidding you. I'm not over exaggerating. After 10 minutes of this, I couldn't take it anymore. I turned around and I looked at that couple and I said, take your fucking kid out of this fucking restaurant. What are you doing? And they were like, how dare you? How dare you? He is a child. And I was like, I don't give a fuck. If you don't take him out, I'm going to take him out for you, or I'm going to take you out and him out at the same time. I was at a point in my life.
Where were you in the world when this happened? Were you in the United States? Were you traveling?
Because that's where I live. I mean, but yeah, that's, I was in I was in Orange County and I never wanted to abuse.
Culturally, you're not having some culture clash where you're in a place. And so if you know the local culture, then like, yes. And I think like a lot of people would be like, thank you, Hero David. And there were probably people in earshot who were like, thank God somebody fucking said something, right? Because it doesn't matter. Like they're assholes in every scenario. And just because you have children doesn't mean you're like, you know, a saint.
Can I finish my story? Can I finish my story?
I didn't realize I stopped you. But forgive me for mistaking it as a two-way conversation because we're doing a podcast, but that's okay. Go ahead and finish your story.
Well, there was something that happened to me in that moment. I don't think it's happened really before or since. And I could have murdered that couple I could have murdered the kid too. I could have murdered all of them. I couldn't believe what was happening. And here's the funny thing. I'm yelling at these fuckers. Literally get the fuck out of here. What is wrong with you people? The kid was like, he didn't know what was going on. He stopped screaming at that point, right? Because he's just like in shock because somebody's fucking yelling.
But I got to ask you, because we're on a thing here. Were you not worried about the like they weren't worried about the judgment of society in that moment where the kid's running amok? Were you not worried about the judgment of society when you were like, I'm going to murder you, or I'm going to kill your family, I'm going to make your children watch as I gut you over your chicken parmesan, like whatever you were doing, you were not worried about what society thought of you in that moment?
No, but so then here's what ends up happening is the manager of the restaurant comes over finally, right? But then tells me that I'm in the wrong and that I am supposed to just be okay with it. I couldn't believe it, which then infuriated me even more. I was like, okay, are you...
So then you threatened to disembowel the manager.
Yeah, I'm ready to burn the place down right at this point.
Right.
And I mean, it's just one of those things where it's like, okay, you people, and you just touched on it. Like these people were just like shit. The kid was shit people. I couldn't believe it. I mean, they were just like, I couldn't believe they weren't like, oh shit, sorry, man. Like, yeah, like, you know, I'm totally sorry. We're going to take him. It was more like fucking, arguing with me and fighting with me. It's that whole entitlement bullshit. Whatever. I love you. And
I love you too.
And I do love your kids. Let's be honest. You know what, Claire? I got that picture of Claire where I'm holding Claire. Uncle Dave's holding Claire. And it's a cute picture. It's very cute.
Big time.
But wait, you know what? You said in the Baggins, you would put fucking mugwort, which is AKA Wormwood. You had to keep saying AKA Wormwood over and over and over, by the way. So, but here's what's weird.
Because that's a funnier way.
Here's what's weird. Okay, we were watching something this week. Or we tried to watch something.
Come up in your life?
Yes, it came up. And so I wanted to Google this. I wanted to look this up. But it was the Charles Manson documentary that just came out like on Netflix. And
good.
Okay. And it was going
through... Were they all doing Wormwood before they went out?
It was talking about like, like the mind control stuff back then in the 60s. And they were taking hippies and giving them like, hallucinogenics and things, you know what I mean? And kind of seeing how far they can manipulate. Yeah. All kinds of, and it listed Wormwood. And I was like, holy shit. I'm like, is that like a psychedelic type of a thing?
You want me to send you a bottle? I told you it has an effect.
No, but then I was like, oh shit, Wormwood. Man. I wanted to look it up to see if Wormwood was like a hallucinogenic type of a thing.
The witches use it.
And apparently the government and secret fucking MK Ultra mind control experiments.
I didn't know about that part. Yeah. I'll tell you, I could feed you a bottle of the Baggins and I could have you doing my bidding. Some people reaching out to me who are like, I don't, they're like, they have like genuine concern for watching that episode. They're like, or a lot of people are like too polite to actually say anything. But like you get like concerned text messages, or the absence of a message after a show, which a lot of people would be like, that was a good episode. It was like nothing, They're like, and then people that I know really well who are like, oh wow, like you kind of became the asshole in that episode.
Oh, implying that I'm normally the asshole?
Oh, well, yeah, absolutely. Like I'm used to David being the asshole. But like you changed roles and like you were the asshole. I was like, well, that's good for TV, I think, right? Like we should do that periodically.
We flipped the script.
Flip the script, right? Because they were like, oh wow, I saw a different side of Dave. It was a less assholey side of him.
Bullshit.
And I was like, well, you don't know him like I do. He's not always that way.
Yeah. Okay. And it's
anyway,
also
it's been good talking. Is the music still playing? Is the music?
No, with the music.
It's a long song.
I got a few messages where were like, was that real? Did he really do that? And I'm like, he really did that. I'm like, it's not. It wasn't a prop. He really did it. It's been fun talking to you. I've enjoyed it as always.
Yeah. All right, well, let's do that again. All right.
Man, love you.
Take it easy.
You too.
Love you. Bye.
See ya. Bye.